Good morning, good afternoon, or good night from whenever and wherever you are watching us. I am Cameron Scandal. That is Steven Treffler. We are the sound. Thank you so much for joining us today, folks. It's not real warm. It's not real cold, but it's brisk. It could be warm outside. We got a lot of good stuff for you today, folks. We got a mixed show, a little bit of football, a little bit of basketball, a whole lot of intelligent and cogent analysis, which we're always here to provide you. And we're just ready to have a great show. But before we get into it, we got some things to mention. Thing singular to mention.
I actually have a second thing to mention, but
okay, we'll do things plural. So our first thing to mention is Giannis Antetokounmpo was kicked out of the last Bucks game for people are going to think it's because he got called for a technical for taunting someone, and because of the taunt, he kind of did like a stare down and did like the little thing. But it wasn't because of the taunt specifically. It was because it was his second technical foul, which then just results in an ejection no matter what the call would have been. But I think, Steve, you and I were talking. I think it's going to or should start a conversation of, all right, the taunting rule is a bit much. Like, if you go back and watch the play, and I'll probably throw it up here, Giannis does not do anything excessive. He doesn't belittle anyone. It's not like he's going over the top. It's just part of sports and the emotion and the competitive nature. I think leagues and refs need to lay back a little bit, pump the brakes a little bit on what we're calling an unnecessary or over-the-top taunt.
Listen, I told you this last night when we talked about this. Giannis puts butts in the seats.
Yeah.
He is entertainment.
Yeah.
These guys out there are there to entertain. When you make a big play like that, especially as a superstar, giving a little and then turning around, you eject somebody for throwing a punch, for throwing an elbow, for throwing something. You don't eject somebody for dunking on them and then going. But why are we teeing guys up for showing emotion and showing like a little bit of gamesmanship? Like, it just didn't make sense.
No, yeah, it's
getting excessive in the NFL too.
Yeah. Well, it's been excessive in the NFL, but it's a bummer to see. And I think just quickly before we move on, the NBA has a little bit of a different element because I feel like with having less people and more of an open environment, doing the theatrics is kind of all, like you said, part of the show.
Yeah.
So to see it become more of a problem in the NBA is very disheartening. I hope Adam Silver nips it in the butt.
So the second thing to mention was, in case we don't get to do a show before Tuesday the 14th, it is our host Cam's birthday this coming Tuesday, and just because of unforeseen things that might come up, I wanted to take a moment and wish Cam a happy birthday here. So happy birthday to you from all of our fans to watch the show. I wanted to take a moment and wish you a happy birthday.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah.
You're welcome.
We're at the point now where birthdays are just kind of birthdays, and that sucks. But yeah, no, I appreciate that. That's very nice. It's a nice gesture.
Did you see that Harbaugh's about to be like punished finally for that whole thing? Like, there's a big thing going on with the college football. Harbaugh's like potentially looking at an indefinite suspension from coaching in NCAA period. And the NFL has come out and said that if the NCAA bans him, they're banning him too.
Oh.
The Big Ten commissioner is basically saying, I'm going to punish you. You just don't know how yet. It's a whole fiasco, dude.
That's it. That is.
And the NFL has come out and said they're paying close attention because there's a chance that they're going to prevent him from coming to coach here.
Well, if it's speculation, then I mean, we can't really speak.
Yeah.
No more, but that is.
It's
noteworthy.
Coming. They said in coming days.
That is a thing to mention. So we ended up having one thing and ended up having three. So this has been things to mention. Moving on to our first actual topic of the day, we are moving into week 10 of the NFL season. It is just blowing by. I mean, I can't believe we're already almost in the playoffs. There are a couple important games coming this week, and there are a couple things that Steve and I just wanted to talk about and bring to the attention of you, the listeners, and the viewers. The first game I want to talk about is the Monday night game, Buffalo and Denver. And then I think to yourself, Cam, why is Buffalo and Denver an important game? And it's because Buffalo is in a very, 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 very delicate situation. Buffalo right now sits at 8th in the AFC, meaning if the playoffs started today, they would not make it. They have issues, okay? Like they have to dig deep and they have to be explosive and
Yeah.
be this second. We talk about a second half team. Can the Bills be a second half of the season team? I'm here to die on the Josh Allen and Buffalo Bills mountain.
Okay.
There have been a lot of worse teams who are getting way less harsh criticism than Buffalo right now. And I just want to bring some context to the viewers. So we are entering week 10, okay? So we are a little bit past halfway through the season. Here's how Buffalo has finished in the Josh Allen era in the second half of the season. You ready, Steve? 26-10. Now, there is another team with another top 5 quarterback who is also an AFC contender who, despite their poor play to start the season, have been getting little to no criticism at all. Steve, can you guess who that AFC team is?
Kansas City Chiefs.
It is the Kansas City Chiefs. Let me tell you the disturbing similarities that the Chiefs and the Bills have had so far this season. So they both have a week 1 loss that should not have happened to Detroit and the Jets, respectively. They also both have a embarrassing loss where it's like that team lost to that team, the Chiefs lost to the Broncos, and the Bills lost to the Patriots. Both of these teams had a single-digit differential against the Jacksonville Jaguars, who I am being told is a top 3 team in the league. And there is also a single-digit loss to a contender, potentially. Buffalo just lost to Cincinnati, and the Chiefs play the Eagles next Monday night. That could be a very telling game for both of those teams. So I'm just possibly putting that out there. So people want to say then, well, is it Josh Allen? Mr. Inconsistent, goes up and down. Let's talk about Josh Allen in the Jags game because the Jags defense is really good and the Jaguars are 7-2. So they're his crazy team right now. Josh Allen threw 359 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick, and had a rushing touchdown. Patrick Mahomes, who that game, Steve, remember that game where it was like 17-9 or something like that? Was that the final score? 17-9. 305 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. That's almost the same stats, except Josh Allen had a 4-point better passer rating. Then let's talk about the embarrassing loss because there should be no if you have a really bad loss to a really bad team, it's usually because the quarterback plays super poorly. Patrick Mahomes against the Broncos, 240 yards, no touchdowns, no picks, and a 59 passer rating. So Josh Allen must have played terribly also, right? 265 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick, a 90 passer rating, and 1 rushing touchdown. And I get it. The Bills are 5-4. There's no excuses for their losses. But Steve, we've talked about a lot in the show about Nick Wright. And Nick Wright likes to always say that this is not the standings. These are not the power rankings.
Yeah, right.
And I think the Bills are being unfairly tied to their record when they have very similar outcomes. And they need to get it together. This is a very telling week. If they lose this week, everything I'm saying could crumble because then it's like, well, now what do you do? It's a whole different ballgame. I don't think that will happen. And I just think the Bills' narrative right now was pre-written before this even started.
Buffalo's offense is struggling right now because they're not doing what it was successful to them last year. Last year, they were top 10 in the NFL in pre-snap movement. This year, they're 23rd. But this year, they're second in plays, in yards per play when they use pre-snap movement. They're averaging 6.4 yards per play when they have pre-snap movement, but they're 23rd in frequency of pre-snap movement. So they're not using what works. Last year, they were top 10 in frequency of that used. So I think their offense is sputtering a little bit because I think they're not using the things that worked last year, and I don't know why. Maybe they haven't opened up the playbook. Like you said, they're kind of a second half team. So maybe there's a reason that they're not allowing, like, using all of the things that were successful last year. But to me, it's their defense that's struggling this year.
They just need to dig deep and rally, whether that be on offense or defense. Like, that's a Buffalo Bills thing. And there's been a lot of post-game interviews and videos from the locker room of players. Like, players know it. Josh Allen knows it. The line knows it. I haven't seen anything about what Sean McDermott has said, but I think Sean McDermott might be in trouble for a job here pretty soon.
If
But
they start winning.
when you have when the pretty much the entirety of the locker room, and especially the big name guys, are all agreeing and acknowledging that something needs to change and there needs to be a push, then it's kind of a big deal. You guys start
100%.
doing something. So yeah, the Bills need a big win here against Denver, and that shouldn't be a big game, but unfortunately for them, it is. Cleveland and Baltimore. This is a big game because the Ravens are a big deal. The Ravens are a super big deal right now. With a win against the Browns, they will be the standalone number 1 seed in the AFC at 8-2 because Kansas City has a bye. This is a statement game because, first of all, Cleveland is surprising some people. They're actually pretty much, I don't know if you remember, Steve, I said if Deshaun Watson can be a top, I have here, if they could have Deshaun Watson be top 12, then this Browns team should be okay. And that's kind of where they're at right now. And obviously for Lamar, it's going to be him versus their defense, which is important. And it's Lamar with having no meaningful playoff victories or any meaningful playoff moments. This, I think, is a game with the magnitude of what it represents with being the 1 seed against a good team and also against a divisional opponent. This is going to be as close to that was a Lamar, coming out here game that, until we get to the playoffs or until we get to another, a tiebreaker game or something where it has to do with seeding, this is going to be the closest thing we're going to get. And I just want to quickly say, among quarterbacks, with at least 6 starts this season, Lamar Jackson is number 1 in completion percentage and rushing yards per game. He is second in his interception percentage, and he is 4th in yards per game.
This is the number 1 and number 2 defenses in the NFL going against each other this week. You have the team that's leading the NFL in sacks per game in the Ravens. And then you have a team that is allowing the lowest points per game in like 50 years or some crazy stat like that. I mean, these two teams are literally like, you know how when you talk about fighting, styles make fights, right? That's what this is. This is a high-powered offense with a high-powered defense against an extremely high-powered defense and a little bit of a sputtering offense. Deshaun Watson was hurt there for a little bit. He's coming back from injury, so I am going to make a prediction about this game. I don't think it's close. I think the Ravens blow the doors off of the Browns. I think this is the kind of game where it's like 43-10. I just do not see the Browns having the kind of offensive capability to score enough against that Ravens defense. And I sure as hell see Lamar Jackson, who is having an MVP season, by the way.
Yeah.
I sure as hell see him coming out and having an MVP style game.
And like you said about the Ravens offense and defense is a top 5 in the league. They are, that's what I'm saying. Like, they're second in yards allowed per game, and they're 6th in total yards per game. They're the number 1 rushing offense. They're number 1 in sacks, and they're 3rd in total yards allowed.
Oh, they took over the Dolphins for rushing.
Last I checked.
Oh, wow.
One more, probably the most important game we're going to talk about is the 49ers versus the Jags.
Yes.
And this is going to be must-see TV for all football fans for a multitude of reasons. It's most important for the quarterbacks, for Brock Purdy and Trevor Lawrence. Because even right now, even still as we sit here and talk, Brock Purdy, and even after this game, win or loss, Brock Purdy is probably going to be still looking at a benching decision from the coaches. And from the Jaguars side, with how good this 49ers defense is and how much criticism Trevor Lawrence has gotten, this is going to be also a statement game where it's like, okay, if you're going to prove yourself and say who you really are, it's going to be right here, right now against this really good contending team.
I think Brock Purdy is going to bounce back this game. He has had 3 bad games in a row. I need to see him come out and play the efficient style of offense and quarterback play that he was playing for the first part of this season. He is the reason that the Niners have been sputtering because they haven't been able to score. So to me, this is a huge game for the validation of both teams. I don't think the Jags are very good. I think they're going to settle into what we know they are, what they finished last season. Yes, they're 6-2. Congratulations. But the thing is they're not. They don't have these massively impressive wins on their resume. And I look for the Niners to beat the Jags in the right around the realm of like 25-14.
I hope Brock Purdy plays really well. I still believe in Brock Purdy. I don't know with the Jaguars defense if he's gonna pop off like you're saying you think he's gonna. I think it's gonna kind of be the flip side of that. I think Trevor Lawrence is gonna play really bad against. I don't think Brock Purdy's gonna win the game for them. I think Trevor Lawrence is gonna lose the game for the Jags.
I forgot to mention Chase Young, and you can mention now.
Because so this will be Chase Young's first game with the 49ers, and I truly believe in that defense. And like you said, I'm 100% on the same page as you. I'm not buying Trevor Lawrence. I'm not buying his performance this season. I think the wins that the Jags have are against not that great of teams, and when they do play better teams, they have a hard time putting up points. So I also agree that it's going to be a low scoring. I would be surprised if the Jags put up over 20 points against the Niners.
Shocked.
I would legitimately be shocked. I'm going to make a prediction. I think, what did you say your score was going to be?
25-17.
I like 17. I'm going to stick with 17. You know what? I'll go 28-17 just so we're not the you know what? Nah. I think I'll say with 28. I don't want to go too much. I'll say 28. 28-17. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to lose. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to have 2 interceptions and no touchdowns.
Oh, that's bold. Okay.
No touchdowns. I think they're going to have 2 interceptions, or he's going to have 2 interceptions. And
so
I
we're
think
basically saying that Travis Etienne is going to have 2 rushing touchdowns. Is what
I think I just think Trevor Lawrence is going to look really bad and get exposed against the Niners because that's what's happened to Trevor Lawrence this season. I mean, I've also been told the Chiefs are possibly the best defense in the league, and they put up 9 points. When they play good defenses, they can't put up points. And the Niners might be the best defense, in my opinion. Like, they put against would you say the Texans are a pretty good team now? Would you also agree with that?
Yeah.
They put up less than 20 points. They just beat the Bills by 25-20. That's not super hot. Like, telling you. So we are pretty much on the same page. This is a big game for Trevor Lawrence. This is a big game for Brock Purdy. And this is a big game for, I think, the Jags. This is a bigger game for the Jags than the Niners, to me.
100%.
But we will see what happens. Our next subject and segment, everyone's favorite ranking system. It is today's top 5. Where Steve and I rank things in different sports contexts, where they do ranking players, ranking teams, ranking whatever we feel like, because you people are going to listen and respect us, because who are we, Steve? Who are we?
The Sound.
The Sound. So, for today's top 5, we have something that's kind of similar to what we did for the NFL. We have our top 5 NBA teams who have had the most interesting start to the season. It's been, 7-8 games played for most of these teams. But there's been a lot of weird stuff going on, a lot of different narratives, and we haven't talked a lot of NBA since the season has started. So we're going to go right into today's top 5. We're going to start at 5, work our way up to 1. Steve, you want to go first, or should I go first?
Yeah, I'll go first. Do you want me to just do 5, then you do 5, then I go 4, then you go 4? Okay.
Yep.
So at my number 5, I actually have the Lakers. So it's an interesting start for me because for a multitude of reasons. We heard that they were going to put some sort of minutes restriction on LeBron James, or they were going to try and monitor his minutes. The man's out here playing almost 40 points a game a night at the age of 39 years old.
Yeah.
He is scoring at will. He is still at the age of 39 the best player on the Lakers. The way he's still able to elevate his game in the clutch. He's a top 4. He's top 4 this year in clutch points per game in the NBA. I think he's actually number 1 or number 2. In my notes, it says he's 39 looking like he's 25 again. I mean,
Yeah.
it's insane.
I also had the Lakers at number 5, but for a little bit of a different reason.
Okay.
We expected the Lakers this season. They had a reloaded roster, losing to Denver, being swept by Denver, being trash talked by Denver and Mike Malone stuff, that they come in motivated. They had a great offseason. They had a great preseason, and they come in and start off the season 3-5. Anthony Davis looks absolutely no different than he did before. He's hurt. And like you just said, LeBron James is in year 39 and or 39 that year 21, he is 39 and gonna be, and he's the best guy in their team. It's interesting, but I'm saying to me that the Lakers are still in the same position to start the season. I mean, they're towards the bottom of the West, so yeah, they are both our number 5s.
Even if they wanted to put him on a minutes restriction, they can't, because if they restrict his minutes, they're gonna lose every game.
Yeah.
So number 4, I have the Grizzlies.
Oh, they almost made my list.
So I have written down, surprise, surprise, when Ja isn't on the court, the Grizzlies are bad. I thought the Grizzlies were going to be okay. I wanted Desmond Bane to take this elevated leap. I said, he plays well without Ja on the court. This is the best case scenario for Ja because it's going to look better on him if he turns this around when he comes back. But this is interesting because I thought with the addition of Marcus Smart, who is leading the league in steals per game this year, I thought that they would be okay still. And they're not.
From what you started off that was saying about surprise, they're bad, that should be a surprise because last 2 seasons with John Moran off the court, they were essentially 500 or better.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it should be a little bit of a surprise that they're playing so bad.
Yeah.
My number 4 is Denver.
Ooh.
Denver is starting off at 8-1 this season, and they haven't missed a beat. Nope. They are still the best team in the NBA. Jokic looks like he is still holding on to that best player in the world title. And they're beating teams by 10 points. Yeah. I did not immediately expect them to come in and play this good this fast. Mm-hmm. Now, Jamal Murray's supposed to miss the rest of the month with a hamstring injury. We'll see if maybe that will taper off, or maybe what I'm saying will happen and they will die off. But they look so good right now, and that to me was just a little bit shocking.
Jamal Murray has not played the last 2 games, and they still look this good. They just beat the Warriors last night, 108-105, and Jamal Murray didn't play. At number 3, I have the Pacers.
Okay.
The Pacers are leading the NBA in points per game. Where did that come from? It's not like they have a super high-powered offense. They have Tyrese Halliburton, who's top 3 in the NBA in assists per game. He's a great young talent. They have Benedict Mathurin, great young talent in his second year. I did not have the Pacers on my radar at all. And now they're out here balling like the 97 the 97 Bulls. So it's really surprising to me that a team of young stars is coming out. I mean, young, good players is coming out and just balling.
Yeah, we'll see if they can keep up that pace of play, but it is super interesting. Yeah.
It's kind of like you said that about Miami earlier when they were like, we'll see if they can keep up that offense, that high-powered offense that we started with. So
almost, yeah. I mean, it's almost like we know what we're talking about. But yeah. So my number 3 is Milwaukee for kind of the opposite reasons that I said Denver was on my list. Milwaukee has looked bad. And they are at the bottom of the league in defense, and we expected them to drop a little bit with replacing Drew Holiday with Damian Lillard. But Giannis should still be far and away the best two-way player in the league. They still have Brook Lopez. They still have Chris Middleton. They have a lot of good defensive pieces still that should be enough. but it's just not happening right now. But I don't expect. Here's how bad it is, Steve. The Bucks right now, okay, have a -2 point differential, meaning that they are not even averaging beating teams. Like that's a team with Giannis and Damian Lillard is averaging a loss by 2 points a game. Like it's not great. And Chris Middleton, who I am probably the biggest Chris Middleton fan in the media, why is he averaging only 10 points a game? He should be getting enough touches now. Maybe because of his injury, hasn't gotten it all back, and we're still at the start of the season. And I respect Giannis and Dame needing their touches, but the Bucks just haven't looked super great to start. But again, that's another team I expect that to change as the season goes on. But they are my number 3.
So before I comment on that, because the Bucks are my number 2, I'm just going to roll right into my number 2 and validate what you just said. Giannis has had a slow start to this season. Last night, they beat the Pistons by 2 points, but Dame also had to have a 14-point fourth quarter to be able to do that. You know, they're just not – Giannis had 15 points. They're just not – they're not clicking. But as we always say, pump the brakes.
Pump the brakes, yeah.
Let me tell you guys something. The Bucks are going to be fine.
Yeah, they are.
They might be 30th in defense, but they're 5-2. So they're finding ways to win games, even when they're playing bad. So I'm not concerned because I know when they start playing good, it's not going to matter. If they're winning games playing bad, what do you think is going to happen when they start playing good?
So to kind of work backwards, the Bucks, your number 2, the Pacers are actually my number 2.
Okay.
For essentially the same reasons you had said. So I don't want to be repeating the same things, but a couple stats that you had not mentioned that I found. They have 7 people on their team averaging over 10 points a game. They are also
has that ever been done?
Probably. To start a season, probably.
Okay.
They are averaging 125 points a game, and they are second in the league in total field goal percentage. Second. And wow. I agree with you that there is, besides Tyrese Halliburton, who is, all NBA 13 caliber player, there is not anyone else special on that team. And I don't think this is sustainable. I'm sure they will even out eventually. But just a really cool start to the season. I mean, the Pacers have been bottom of the barrel for quite some time. So it's just nice to see that they had this nice little rewarding start. But yeah, Pacers are my number 2. I think we're going to say number 1.
And my number one, my Sixers.
Me too, baby. Same number 1.
Listen, if you would have told me that the Sixers were going to come out and start the season 6-1, beating the teams that they've beaten. They beat Boston pretty handily. Tyrese Maxey is coming out balling.
Yeah.
And I have not been a big Tyrese Maxey fan.
Nope.
But hold on. Everyone, just wait. Just wait. I don't care. Let me explain to you why, Sixers fans and NBA media. Because when the postseason starts, this Joel Embiid is not there. And I have no faith in Tyrese Maxey to carry us to the promised land through the playoffs.
Yeah, no. I mean, Embiid leads the league in points per game right now with 32.
He's returned in MVP form.
The Sixers are a top 5 offense. They're second in points differential and blocks per game. And you would think with a brand new head coach, your second star forcing his way out the way he did. Tobias Harris had some off-the-court issues with the fans of Philadelphia and want to be traded, and, I'm sure that weighs on you. We had just talked. Tyrese Maxey, I think, got a lot of conflicting media comments, and Embiid had a abysmal and embarrassing postseason yet again. There's a lot of things going on right now, and yet they are somehow the number 1 team in the NBA. Well, number 2 behind Denver. It doesn't make any sense, but I agree with you. It doesn't matter. It does not matter. The Sixers will be a regular season team. It will come to the postseason, and the same things will happen. So today's top 5, our 5 most interesting teams, or most interesting starts in the NBA. I have the Philadelphia 76ers, the Indiana Pacers, the Milwaukee Bucks, the Denver Nuggets, and the LA Lakers.
And I have this Philadelphia 76ers, the Milwaukee Bucks, the Indiana Pacers, the Memphis Grizzlies, and the Lakers.
So we really just had
one team different.
To one team, yeah. Denver and Memphis. But yeah,
Right.
Today's top 5. And to end our show, we are ending on a light note with everyone's favorite game show. Who is that? Who is that is a game where Steve and I give each other clues to try and guess the current or former NFL or NBA player. I do not remember the score.
A lot too little.
We know it's not close. We've been there before. We don't got to go through that all again. It is my turn to give Steve the clues. Steve, are you ready to play? Who is that?
Gotta get my brain warmed
Get
up.
psyched up, dude. I think this is a good one. Let's begin.
All right, go ahead.
Clue number 1. Some basic starting information. A 1-time champion, a 10-time All-Star, a 6-time All-NBA, and a 9-time All-Defensive NBA player. Now, out of those total 15 selections, 9 were first team. Just a little extra piece of information.
Oscar Robertson.
It is not Oscar Robertson, although that is a good starting guess.
They didn't keep all.
It's a good starting guess.
Played.
It's a great starting guess. Clue number 2. He is second in all-time steals, and he does not have a single season with under 1.5 steals a game.
1-time champ. 15. So he was just on a team that was good, but they weren't good enough to get over the hump enough. But he was a great player on a team with 1 ring. Who the bleep has 1 ring that would have been a first team All-NBA or that many times and that many All-Defense? So he was a great 2-way player that had 1 ring. If he's got that many steals, I'd like to think
you're almost nailing this. You really are. You're almost nailing this.
I know, and that's why I'm like, I feel like he was a guard, but like I feel like that also could be a trap that he threw the steals in there. Hakeem.
It is not Hakeem Olajuwon.
I feel like
Hakeem Olajuwon, he's got 2 rings.
He has 2. I thought he only won in 95.
He won in 94 and 95.
Oh, did he go back to back the 2 years that Jordan was gone?
Jordan won, 1, 2, and 3, and then he won 6, 7, 8. Clue number 3. Drafted 2nd overall in 1994. He then proceeded to win Rookie of the Year in 1995.
So he was drafted right around the time.
So, talking about Hakeem, you guys say right around
the time that AI came into the league. But he's got no rings. So it would be around that class. How many years did he play?
He retired in 2013.
Okay.
I think,
right, that's enough.
Let me look that up.
Jason Kidd.
It is Jason Kidd. Congratulations! Look at that.
He won his 1 ring with the Mavs.
He did.
He went to 2 straight NBA Finals appearances in 2000 and 2001, where I remember exactly. As soon as I was literally sitting back, I'm like, 2013. Fuck, that means that he probably got his ring at the end of his career when he wasn't that good.
So I gave it away. Damn it! I should have just looked up the number of seasons.
So what I started doing in my mind was I started going through like, okay, in the early 2000s, who were guys that would have been first team All-NBAers? And then I literally dwindled it down to, I thought it was going to be Steve, but then I was like, I don't think Steve Nash ever got a ring. So I was like, yeah, it was between those 2. So
yeah, I think you would have got up on my last 2 clues anyway. That was what my last 2. Number 4 was he's tied for 5th most triple doubles all time, and my last clue was he has coached on 4 different teams, and he has 1 ring as a coach. He was on the 2020 Lakers team.
I would have gotten it on the 5th.
Well, yeah, Jason Kidd. What did that take?
That's a good name.
Yeah. What did that take? What is that? 3? Took you 3 clues? That's not bad. Or no, how many? Yeah, it took 3 guesses. Well, 3. How many guesses? You had 2 guesses, I guess.
2 guesses.
Yeah, because you guessed Hakeem and Oscar Robertson.
Oscar. So this was my 3rd guess.
Yeah. So yeah, 2 guesses. Good for you, man. That was a good round. Good round. Jason Kidd was a good name.
That was a good name. No, because you presented it in a way that I was confuzzled for a second.
You were describing it perfectly, pretty much. Jason Kidd, good job again.
Great name.
I don't know what the score is. I'll have it up. It'll be at the bottom, yeah. But this was a good one. You'll catch up. You'll be there. Don't worry about it.
I'm gonna try.
But yeah, this has been Who Is That? And that's gonna do it for us today. Another excellent show. We got 55 minutes of recording time. It's been a long show, but it's been a good one. We hope you enjoy all the minutes of it, all the seconds, all the takes, all the sports. We hope you had a great time here, folks. And just always remember, if you are ever in need of intelligent and cogent sports analysis, just listen to the sound. We will always have you covered. Thank you so much for joining us here today. Hope you have a great rest of your day or night. Stay safe. Take care. We'll see you next time.
Listen to the sound. I listen to the sound.